Joe, the clock starts now. So there's Blade, there's Livewire. What's Inertia doing differently that makes it worth picking for a project?
I think what makes Inertia worth picking is that if you like writing JavaScript, if you like writing React or Vue, Inertia is perfect for you. If you like writing PHP, you want to go with Blade, you want to go with Livewire. So if what you want to do is write client-side code, Inertia makes it very, very simple to do that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How do you explain Inertia to non-technical clients and stakeholders?
Yeah, so I generally describe it as a thin layer of glue between your Laravel backend and your client-side code. So it just does little invisible negotiations that you don't really have to worry about. You can kind of plug it in, and the two will talk to each other very seamlessly, and you'll kind of magically have this single-page application.
Cool. Is there a specific type of app where Inertia really shines?
There's not a specific app, but if the end game is a single page application and you want all the power that Laravel has to offer behind the scenes, that's where it really feels magical, because you really have like this super full featured backend, and then you still get to use that client-side framework that you love. So it just feels very cohesive when you're building like a solid web application.
Yeah, that's a dream for developers for sure.
Yeah.
So how do teams split front-end and back-end work when using Inertia? Do you see any patterns?
Yeah, I mean, I think the cool thing about Inertia is that everybody gets to play to their strengths, right? So if you have strictly back-end or strictly front-end, or somebody who's leaning back-end or front-end, and they're not necessarily full stack, they get to just do what they love, and they don't really have to worry about the in-between stuff. So you just have to agree, like, this is the contract, right? So you say, like, these are the props I'm going to feed you, and then the client-side framework just acts as the view, V-I-E-W, not V-U-E, and it just works. So everybody gets to write the code that they love, which I think is sort of the beauty of something like Inertia.
That's amazing. What is something new Inertia users get wrong quite often or totally overlook?
Okay, so last year we launched history encryption, which I think is a really neat feature that probably is heavily underutilized. I don't think a lot of Inertia users are probably using it, but if you aren't using it, you should look at history encryption. It's a very cool way to secure your app, and something that was asked for a long time, so I hope people start using it.
That's great. I must look into this. What's a feature of Inertia that just sparks joy every time you use it for you?
I love deferred props. I don't know what it is. It makes me very happy. Deferred props, you just say, this prop is deferred, you get the snappy page load, and it automatically loads those props into the page asynchronously. I don't know anybody who's doing it like better or easier than that. It makes me happy every time.
So cool. So do you use this when you want to render the page instantly and then load something in the background, and when it's ready, it shows up?
Right. So if you have some like heavy data that needs to be loaded, you don't need to wait for the initial page load for that. It'll automatically load it after the page has already done the initial load, if you just mark it as a deferred prop.
Awesome.
Yep.
Do you ever see Inertia moving towards server components? I don't know if you're familiar with React and how now there's client and server components, and React and Inertia battles with that space.
You're talking about like writing server-side code in a JavaScript component? Is that basically kind of what you're saying, or is it?
Yeah, what I mean is like React used to be just a client-side library, and now it's moved towards doing a lot of stuff for server code. And so that's the area where Inertia operates. So there's overlap here. So
I don't think so. I think that's probably not in the future for Inertia. I think we're going to let the backend, the Laravel, play to its strengths and let the client side play to its strengths. And I think we're going to keep those separate but cohesive.
I think that makes sense. The more I play with Inertia, the more I think I don't need the client side, the server side of React.
It's the whole selling point. It's amazing.
It really is. All right, and my last question. what's one feature or idea that you're itching to add or improve in Inertia or its ecosystem?
So not necessarily Inertia specific, but it's going to play very nicely with Inertia. I really want the two sides to talk to each other even more cohesively. So I want the client side to know as much as possible about what's going on the back end, whether it's what type of props it can expect as defined by the back end, what types of models we have, what types of enums. Like I want all of that stuff to be things that the client side knows about via TypeScript or JavaScript. And I think that's something that I'm excited about. That's something I'm excited to put out there. And it's something we're working on right now as a little project.
Sounds great. All right, Joe, that's all the time we got. Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.